An expansion project for Jasper Engines now has local tax incentives. More on this morning's decision, plus US 231 is the subject of a letter from the Jasper City Council to NDOT. We'll tell you what prompted the letter, and Mark Messmer joins us for tonight's edition of Meet the Candidates on Inform. All of that and much more is up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Hello, I'm Bradford Raths. We begin tonight with Jasper Engines and Transmissions getting local tax incentives for a recently announced expansion project. This morning, the Jasper Economic Development Commission recommended a 10-year abatement for the project. That recommendation was approved by the Jasper City Council in a special meeting also held this morning. The abatement is worth $3.2 million, including just over $2 million for building improvements at the former Jasper Plastics building along Power Drive. The new site is set to house the transmissions division of Jasper Engines. Full abatement will be granted for the first 8 years, and that drops down to 75% in the 9th year and 50% by year 10. Jasper Engines and Transmissions CEO Doug Bobble says it's great to get the support from the community. He says hiring the new workers for the facility will be a big relief for current employees.
We've stressed our workforce, and we can't thank our associates enough. We have over 1,000 hours of overtime already in the first 3 months of this year, and we realize we've stressed them, but we just don't have a larger footprint to work out of from the Warnsing Road. So we've begged for forgiveness with our people. Let us get through this, let us get moved into a new facility, and we'll get them some relief.
Meanwhile, Councilman Tom Schmidt says keeping another local company at home is a good thing.
Jasper Engine, including some other companies that are here in Jasper, very progressive, and Jasper moving forward with this vacant building, I think, is something that is truly something that's great for the city of Jasper. We will have more employees here, even though we are short. I think some people will move in with new housing going on, and they'll occupy the houses, and it's a good thing for everyone involved.
The company is planning to add 235 new jobs by 2017. 100 of those are expected to be in Dubois County. The expansion was originally announced back on Wednesday. The company is planning to invest a total of $6.9 million into purchasing and renovating the former Jasper Plastics building. The expansion marks the third one for the company since 2010. Now, the Indiana Economic Development Corporation also offered up to $1,150,000 in conditional tax credits and up to $200,000 in training grants for this expansion. The tax credits are performance-based, meaning that the company can't claim incentives until Hoosier workers are hired. In other news this evening, a deteriorating stretch of US 231 through Jasper has drawn the attention of the Jasper City Council. Earlier this week, the council sent a letter to the NDOT office in Vincennes requesting major improvements to the road. The letter is signed by all 7 members of the council. According to the letter, the US 231 corridor through Jasper is the most frequent complaint that council members get from city residents. The residents are also voicing those concerns to the council, not knowing that NDOT is responsible for the upkeep of the road and not the city. City Councilman Tom Schmidt originally brought this issue to light during the council's April meeting. He says NDOT has not lived up to their word to repair the road.
From the first release, Chair Elliott said that they would pay from the south side of Huntingburg to the state police post here in Jasper. That didn't happen. But now, and then also they went and stopped funding for the 231 bypass. Now all that traffic has to come through Jasper, including all the big trucks and all that. And it is increasingly tearing up our road that goes through here. And it is not owned by the city, so we cannot do any repairs or anything on it.
The letter also states that the road has been repaved 3 times in the last 15 years, and the most recent of those was last year. Street Commissioner Ramey Eckerly has stated that the work done during last year's repave has already shown signs of breaking down. Officials with Jasper-based German-American Band Corp have discovered just how much damage was done by a recent scam. In all, German-American CEO Mark Schrader says roughly 125 customers of the bank shared personal information with the scammers. He says as a result, those customers found unauthorized charges on their bank accounts. Company officials say the scam cost the bank roughly $500 per customer on average to cover people's losses. They say the losses weren't large enough to be significant to investors, but the fraud was mentioned in the company's first quarter earnings report, a report that was released earlier this week. Now, the scam took place a little over a month ago all across our viewing area. Scammers who claimed to represent German American called and sent text messages to victims seeking personal information. That information was then used for unauthorized transactions. Company officials once again remind everyone not to give out their personal and/or banking information over the phone. They say such calls are a sign of a scam, as German American representatives do not contact customers seeking that information. The recent scam was the second one that German American has dealt with over the last few years. Schrader says this scam was not as costly for the company as the previous one. A coal gasification plant project for Spencer County is set to remain in limbo for the time being. Indiana Gasification Project Manager Mark Lubers says the project, which would build a $2.8 billion plant near Rockport, is not dead. However, he also says breaking ground on the project is not expected to happen anytime soon without Governor Mike Pence giving his blessing for the project. That decision has not been made as of this point in time. Back in December, the Indiana Department of Environmental Management decided to extend Indiana Gasification's permit through June 27th of this year. That decision came on the heels of the Indiana Supreme Court's December ruling that a change made to the contract between the company and the state was valid. The IDEM decision was met with outrage by the Sierra Club and Valley Watch, who filed appeals, charging that the permit was invalid since the public didn't get a chance to comment on it. IDEM responded that there was no need for public comment since the permit was not being fundamentally altered. The battle with Indiana Gasification has surrounded the 30-year contract that the company signed with the state during former Governor Mitch Daniels' administration back in 2010. Under the contract, the state will buy the synthetic gas produced by the plant at fixed prices for 30 years. The state would then resell the gas, and consumers would either make or lose money. To this point, the state has not addressed how much it will be paying for the gas. The project could create 250 new jobs in Spencer County. The Southeast Dubois School Corporation took another step towards staffing for the upcoming school year. Last night, the board approved the personnel report for the upcoming 2014-2015 year. That also included contracts for teachers and teaching assistants that the corporation will be bringing back next year. The board also approved the hiring of 6 new teachers and 2 custodians during last night's meeting. Now, the corporation's enrollment has continued to decline over the last several years, and that change in enrollment has become a major topic of discussion. The corporation is set to lose 36 students next year, according to Superintendent Rick Allen. Allen says the district does the best that it can to match teachers with students.
Well, our enrollment's declining, but the high school hasn't seen the declining enrollment. They still have classes over 100, but they have some classes like their 7th grade, their 8th grade next year is going to be 84. So yeah, we try to match our teachers with our enrollment and what the budget allows, which is challenging sometimes for a small rural school district.
Allen says 8 teachers retired from the district, leaving some vacancies still to be filled even with last night's hirings. Also last night, the board approved the adoption of new textbooks for Forest Park High School students. 7th and 8th graders will be using the Connections program for literature books next year, while kids in grades 9 through 12 will utilize Pearson Education for those books. Allen says even with new technology, the books are hard to replace.
Our high school has Chromebooks. They're one-to-one with Chromebooks. This is the year for English language arts and literature, and most of our kids would rather read the book from a book versus technology, so we still are mixing some digital content.
The board also approved a new energy-efficient burner for the boiler at Ferdinand Elementary. The boiler dates back to the early 1960s. Allen says the change is being made in light of rising energy costs.
This winter, we really noticed our natural gas and utility bills, and so one of our neighboring school districts, Springs Valley, had installed a new Riola burner for their boiler. So I was looking at our boilers in our school district. Ferdinand Elementary has a boiler that's 1962, and the burners haven't been replaced. Well, These new Riola burners are supposed to pay for themselves in 18 months, so we're really looking forward to that energy efficiency to get the utility costs to lower them as well.
On a final note, the board approved returning a 2-acre plot of land to the St. Ferdinand Parish. The corporation had owned that land since 1980 due to laws that existed at that time governing expansion of school districts. Those laws are no longer in existence, and the school district never utilized the land. Thus, under the agreement, the land reverted back to the parish upon the parish's request. The U.S. Department of Education is investigating Indiana University Bloomington and Vincennes University over their handling of sexual abuse complaints. The federal agency says the schools are among 55 nationwide under scrutiny for their handling of those complaints under a federal law, which mandates equal opportunities for men and for women. That law also regulates schools' handling of sexual violence and is increasingly being used by victims who say that their schools didn't protect them. IU spokesman Mark Land says the department had confirmed it did not receive any complaints against IU Bloomington that would have triggered an investigation. He says IU and the other schools were chosen randomly for a routine compliance review of their handling of sexual abuse and harassment complaints. Meanwhile, Vincennes University says it's actively working with the department on its review. Finally this evening, Purdue University President Mitch Daniels is thanking a Purdue student and a campus employee for alerting residents at an apartment complex about a fire that eventually killed a young man. Daniels praised sophomore Gregory Cohen and school employee Kevin Thiedens on Thursday for their actions and courage in helping to protect the residents' lives. Daniels presented both men with the One Brick Higher Award for their actions during the pre-dawn fire on April 24th that gutted a West Lafayette apartment building. Daniels says the men put themselves at risk and by all accounts are responsible for the safety of a number of other people and possibly saved lives. The fire did kill 22-year-old Cody Ryan Day of Connorsville. He had been visiting friends at Purdue. All right, we head to break with these shots of the annual Holy Family Plants sale. That sale took place at a building adjacent to the WJTS studios here on Herbig Lane. Weather, sports, and meet the candidates will be coming up after this.